All right, guys, welcome to your workflows. So why doesn't your call flow? Any guesses? Did anyone read the session description? Any guesses on what that means? When my presentation partner, Mark Vale, and I sat down to decide on a session, voice AI is going to be part of our discussion, but I told Mark, I don't really want to focus just on voice AI. I want to talk about what I hear in the industry. And what I hear is companies are focused on workflows, like automated workflows. How do I make business process easier for my employees, for my customers? How do I orchestrate that to make it just easy for customers to consume? But what I hear in my industry, I work in the voice industry, is oftentimes the call flow is the last thing that's thought of why is the workflows that we rely on not as tightly integrated into the call flow or vice versa. So our session is going to kind of dive into examples of how you can take workflows and tie them into call flows to bring call flow into kind of the modern era. So first, I guess we're supposed to thank our sponsors. Landis, I see Matt. Matt was in here. Did he? Oh, there's Matt. Momentum, Mark Marquez. Anywhere, I don't know if it's anywhere in here. Orchestra and Cisco and all the other sponsors that might be in here. Introduction, I think everyone probably knows Mark Vale, the industry legend. Oh yeah, Mark Vale's back there. This is Ben Lee. I forgot. I had the pleasure of working with Mark pretty much every day, 5 days a week. He's a great asset to have, so I appreciate all that you do for us, Mark. And I run modern work innovation for Momentum. This is the P on row right here. This is Momentum. So if you want to pick brains after the end of the session, these are the guys to do it with. All right, so today's session is going to be kind of 3 parts. We're going to focus on the automation piece. Since this is a Microsoft session, we're going to talk about Power Automate and what you can do with it and the orchestration pieces that fit around it. Then we're going to go into some real world automation use cases, and then we'll tie it into the kind of the mic drop moment of bringing it into the call flow. How many in here are familiar with Power Automate? And how many are familiar with it beyond level 100, 200, 300, 400? All right, good deal. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. We have a lot to show. I told Mark I'm going to hand this over at the 30-minute mark, and I've already wasted 4 minutes. So here we go. Let's just real quick talk about Power Automate. What is it? What's its capabilities? How many are aware of a platform called like N8N? I know Rick is. So Power Automate has been around a lot longer than N8N, and it's a automation and orchestration platform that essentially allows you to low code, no code your integration endpoints. So whether it's Microsoft or you're going into a third party, Power Automate gives you a very easy way to kind of do a canvas flow build to start connecting those triggers, those actions, and those conditions around those actions. And they offer several different integrations. One is instant, cloud flows, one is desktop flows, and then there's the instant triggers, scheduled triggers, and process triggers. So we'll kind of show some of those. I'm not going to focus on the desktop one. We primarily focus on that top one, the automated cloud flow. So I kind of talk about it in terms of orchestration, or think of it like the plumbing between your tools and your various platforms. It's kind of the glue that you use to bind your different platforms together. Why does it matter? I think the big one is you can start to eliminate manual workflows, whether it's customer facing or it's internal for your own employee workforce. It allows you to easily connect your ecosystem, so you don't have to necessarily always rely on the vendor. If it's a third-party vendor, what kind of integration capabilities they might have. You can lean more into the Microsoft Power Stack to get that ecosystem connected. And there's thousands of thousands of third-party vendors that have already gone in and done their Power Platform connectors. So all you have to do is authenticate that connector, and then you have access to those APIs. I'll show you a couple of them today. This one's kind of interesting. I had to throw this in. This is the new buzz, like citizen developers. Obviously, Power Automate has existed long before the buzzword citizen. But again, it's low code, no code. So now you can actually empower people to develop their own flows that solve their own use cases. It doesn't necessarily have to be, let's sit down with IT and figure out how to justify this. It's, hey, Kevin, if you have a workflow you want, here's your tool. Go do your low code, no code integration and solve that workflow. And then obviously, because it's the M365 stack and Azure, it gives you a lot better visibility and compliance into what maybe your citizen developers are doing. So you can kind of keep track of, are they trying to integrate into tools that aren't authorized? Are they trying to run data through those tools that are out of compliance? So it gives you a lot of power around how you guardrail your organizational data. And then there's kind of two main models for it. There's the free, which I'm here to tell you can get a lot done on the free model. It's pretty much only when you get into either volume of requests per day in your flows or into custom connectors where you need to move into the premium. So if you're looking to dive into Power Automate without paying money, free is a good place to start. Personally, in the company I work for, we're developing power flows for customers all the time. And a lot of them, more than you would believe, are actually just the free tier. It's not until they want to get into those third-party connectors that you move into premium. The cost is $15 per user on the premium. The only thing I'll call out here is our recommendation is you really only need one centralized premium user if you're going to consolidate flows. So it's not like you pay premium and can only build one flow. You get the premium license and you can build dozens, thousands of flows. You're just on that per user, you're limited to those 40,000 requests per day. So you just have to consider what's the volume that you're doing. We have customers that are processing in the thousands of documents a day on premium with no issues, and they're doing it multiple, call it SharePoint sites, under one account for that total to be within that 40,000 range. But $15 is what that gets you. Integration landscape, this I'm just calling out. It's pretty much the sky's the limit here. That bottom right corner there, custom HTTP, pretty much now you can start building your own custom air quote API connectors. So you can essentially go connect to anything that's OpenAI or Open API or REST API driven. But it allows you to instantly gain access to thousands of endpoints, whether it's within the M365 ecosystem, it's third-party CRMs like Salesforce or HubSpot. We've connected things to like Azure's OpenAI, so easy to get connected into the AI landscape without needing to go super deep into understanding how some AI platform may work. And I think we'll maybe show a little bit of that here in a bit. And then connecting to compliance-based platforms as well, Smarsh or Global Relay or whoever else. All right, we were going to do a workshop. I'm actually going to reserve the workshop for as we go through the flows because we have a lot to show you today. So instead, I just kind of put this up on, these are the basic building blocks of Power Automate, and you'll see the canvas here in a minute. But essentially, each flow has a trigger. Yeah, what is the thing that starts that flow running? What is the rule that says it's time to run? You have to define a trigger before you can move on and define your conditions and your actions. Once you've defined your trigger, you then go in and say, okay, now what do I want to do in this automated flow? What logic branch do I want to take? Is the condition true? Is it false? Is it if, else, then? Again, whatever that condition is, then determines the action that you're going to go take. Maybe it's, hey, do I know that it's Mark that I'm interacting with as a customer? If I do, then let's go do this. If I don't know it's Mark, then let's go try to figure out who I'm talking to. Again, we'll show you. And then as you're making these decisions, so let's say I don't know who Mark is, what's my service? Maybe it's my CRM. Maybe it's, okay, now let's try to get Mark to tell me it's Mark. And then let's go connect it to my CRM and start putting that data into the CRM. So that now I, as the human, I'm not necessarily just typing that all in a manual fashion. And then from there, the Power Automate platform gives you the ability to test and iterate and continue that evolution. If you set it up properly, we got a Microsoft guy in the back that taught me this, that you can actually set up your dev, your testing instance, and then you can deploy to production. So we'll show some of that in our actual demos. All right, real world automation. So these, what I'm going to show you are actual ones that we've done for customers. Some of them are pretty simple. Some of them are complex. So the three here that I'm going to kind of talk through, and I'll actually start sharing my screen on Power Automate. We're Momentum, we're a algo integrator, so we're very heavy in helping organizations with hardware-based triggers. So taking what's coming off, say, an algo device and doing something with that. So the use case here will be incorporating it into a business continuity plan or an emergency action plan for a school. Customer follow-up, this could be anything from, hey, I missed a call, or I want to send an appointment reminder. Just this would be more external facing. I'm going to go look at a CRM and I'm going to say, hey, Rick, you've got an appointment tomorrow. Just a reminder, press C to confirm, whatever. And then I may or may not get into this one. Just I'm watching the time here. AI-powered document processing. This would be file comes into SharePoint. We have Azure OpenAI looking at it. We have human in the loop that validates that what AI is doing is correct, and then that document gets processed. So let's see, what's my next slide? Yeah. Let's get into, got to remind myself of the first one. We'll do algo first. So 16 browser tabs later, I got to find which one it is. All right, so let's get into edit mode here. So this is what the canvas looks like for Power Automate. And I've already defined all of the different things, but I'll kind of show you how easy this is from a building perspective. Obviously, you would start with a blank canvas when you first start this, and the top one is always going to be your trigger. The triggers can be manual, like you'll see here. They can be, hey, when an email is received, when a calendar event is about to begin. It can be pretty much anything you want it to be. To add anything new, it's just clicking the plus button and then beginning to build out based on what kind of connector and action you want to take. So I'll walk through this here in a little bit on the action piece. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is the algo one. So we had a school that they in Colorado, and it's about to snow, so it's kind of appropriate. In the winter months, they send out drivers at like 2 and 3 in the morning to monitor the roads in the mountains. And then those drivers make a decision on, does school continue or is it postponed? And their challenge is, okay, driver decides school is going to be postponed. Now they need to, pull over, pick up their cell phone, make a phone call that turns into the telephone game, right? Call after call after call, to get the school's, I'll call it the response team or the incident response team, organized to start getting the message out to students, to parents, to whoever, and also faculty to say school's postponed or it's canceled or whatever. So we sat down and we decided, hey, you guys, if you go with, like, say, an algo, what we can do is we can start to process this in a way that makes it really easy for you to do your incident response. So we created this trigger that essentially can be triggered from multiple different directions. It can be triggered from the algo device itself. It could be triggered off of a Teams app sitting within the mobile client on your cell phone. It could be triggered on a phone call. It could be triggered on a Teams message or an SMS message. So all I'm doing is I'm sending a webhook in, and I'm firing off this trigger to say, let's take some actions. the thing that I would recommend to anybody when you're building out your flows is where you can set variables and store data before you start your flow. Always do it at the top, because your flows should be as dynamic and flexible as possible, and you don't want to have to go find 80 nodes to update when you decide you need to update some data string. I would say set it in some kind of variable up at the top. This one doesn't have any, but you'll see some in some of our other flows. So then what we do is we kind of, most of this is that low code stuff, right? Not, probably not as low code as you would think. We get down into, okay, what are we gonna go do once that event happens? So first of all, I'm getting the time. I'm getting the time because I need to schedule an incident when the trigger fires. So I'm gonna go down, and depending on whether it's an emergency or an alert, from the algo perspective, then I'm gonna start creating whatever needs to happen, which would be, you know, I'm going to go maybe post some kind of message into Teams for my faculty to say, hey, you've got something going on, you need to take action. Maybe then I'm going to go integrate into an SMS gateway. I don't know who's chatting with me, but they need to shut up. Maybe I'm going to go send a SMS body out to a SMS provider to send a message out to faculty that maybe they're still getting ready to come into school for the day, or they need to know, hey, we've got an incident bridge, get on the bridge. But you can see here, here's all my variables where I'm using dynamic data to build my message, right? So that I can be very flexible about how I'm sending data in and out of these workflows. So I've got one for faculty, I've got one for parents and students, and then so this is, the top one was creating a Teams meeting for the incident bridge, and then I'm sending an adaptive card out to the faculty and staff to take action. So what I did is I didn't feel like coming and setting up an algo device to show this, but algo has APIs. So I also we built just a remote, you know, again, this could be embedded app in Teams where it's, hey, I'm the driver, I want to cancel school. Maybe there's messaging I want to put around it, but essentially I'm going to go fire that trigger. And what we'll see is I've got a calendar here. Let's say I'm one of the faculty members. We should see, fingers crossed, a meeting show up declaring the incident, and then a bunch of messaging that starts to go out. So I also have a Google Voice account that we'll use for simulating what a student, a parent, or mobile faculty member may see. So I'm going to go fire this, and then we'll get into what else is going on. So we've triggered it. Let's get out to the calendar. We should start to see some Teams messages pop in, running its thing. Okay, there's our incident. Again, dynamically, I can pass any kind of data in. So I've dynamically named the meeting based on the event that came off of the algo device. There we've got the SMS messages starting to pile in. I've sent them to the same number so we can see what they both are. But again, that's the dynamic content from an SMS perspective that's gone out through an SMS provider. And then the last piece is over here, we've declared an event in a workflow in Teams that now gives my faculty some maybe useful tools right within the card, right? Maybe it's, I just want to click a button and join the bridge. Maybe one of the people, their responsibility is get emergency services on the phone. So they can click a button right there, immediately head out to the PSAP to get people rolling if it was that kind of emergency. Or maybe I just want to click back into the paging system at the school and just open a paging talk path back into the paging system, all right within kind of this single pane of glass for an incident response team to work from. And then that I can tie that down to, if we go look at my teams, I've got an incident response team where that ultimately lives. If I can find, there it is. I did an alert, not an emergency. So again, people can start to collaborate as well from a chat perspective on that thread. So I'm going to clear that. Questions or comments on that? I know I'm kind of moving. Getting your brain juices flowing? So the question is that a premium connector to receive a webhook? Let me get back to it's premium for the HTTP connector, yes. I don't think for that one's just a Azure webhook that's built in that ties me to the Power Platform. So that one's included, but it's these ones, HTTP, because that's custom API that I'm doing right there. So that would automatically move you to the premium. But for $15 a month, that's cheap for like a school when they think about how many phone calls they used to have to make for this. All right, let's do one more. I got to hurry up. I got 9 minutes to hand it off to Vale. Let's see, what's this one? Not that one. Appointment reminder. This is probably one of the bigger ones we get asked for is, hey, how do I just let my customers know that they have an appointment upcoming? They just want to do maybe an SMS reminder, and they maybe don't have a CRM where it's built in, or they're choosing to use an SMS provider that sits outside of the CRM. So this is another flow that's based on recurrence. I'm just looking at the time because essentially I just want to look at who has an appointment within the next 24 hours. So I'm going to, recurrence means that's my trigger. How often do I want to run it? I'm going to go run it every minute maybe, or maybe once every 24 hours and batch send. Then I'm going to get the current time because I need to know from this current time of run who has an appointment within 24 hours. And then I'm going to add to that a 24-hour interval so I know what my window looks like for what I'm going to go look for in the CRM. This is the one where I said, hey, go set your variables ahead of time so that you can store data into them as you go through the flow. So as an example, I've got the client phone number. It's an empty variable, but when I go dip the CRM, I'm going to end up putting someone's phone number in this variable so that I can form my action down the road for sending the SMS. So once I go through all of this, I'm essentially going to go connect to, in my instance, it's Salesforce. I'm going to go see who has appointments within Salesforce. So I'm just doing a get record. I'm going to go look at anything that has that time window that I defined above. I have to do some crazy epoch time conversion because it's the only way you can do greater than or less than when you're doing a comparison against a date stamp. And then I'm going to, if I get the contact, I'm going to go store the data, and then I'm going to compose and send the message again. You'll notice here I'm getting the phone number, I'm getting the first name, getting the subject of their appointment, the outputs from the variables above, and then I'm sending this message. So what that looks like is I've got, say, an appointment here for demo at CommsV Next tomorrow at 2:30, and that's, maybe not quite 24 hours, but I'm going to make it trigger anyway. So what that would look like if this was running, and here's the test and iterate. So as you're designing this, you can actually hit this test button up here, and you can manually trigger it, or you can automatically trigger it if you've already had triggers. So we'll just trigger this off. It will in real time show you how it's progressing through the flow. So you can actually see that it successfully gets through the flow or it stops and there's an error. And if there's an error, it gives you the ability to troubleshoot based on whatever those error codes are. You can already see the messages come in. So there's my appointment reminder. Hi, David. Friendly reminder. You have an appointment for the demo for CommsV Next, blah, 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 date and time. Again, pulling all of that data dynamically out of the CRM. So now I have one flow that can greet every one of you in the room dynamically, address whatever the topic is dynamically, and rinse and repeat. I can just set that to run and essentially set it and forget it. So that's another very basic one. The next thing I want to do, because I have now 5 minutes, so I hand it to Vale, is I want to get into, now how do you extend this into the call flow? How do I take something like Power Automate and lift it up into a call flow, or vice versa, take a call flow and push it down through Power Automate? We're going to get into a feature that I don't think gets enough attention in the Microsoft space, and it's called tabs for calling. This is where I can take a dialogue or a Microsoft app, and I can lift it up into the actual call flow. So now instead of, say, traditional screen pop, where I'm popping a browser, I can bring the browser into the call, right? So now my agent doesn't have to swivel chair. They're working right from within the context of that phone call. Essentially what tabs for calling is it's just it's a manifest that you define in Teams. So a Teams app. You set it so that it can be a tab in the phone call. So it's just a setting that's defined within the Teams app. And then what I can do from there is I can tie Power Automate to it to do certain kinds of workflows based on what I'm doing. It doesn't have to be set up this way. This is just how I'm setting up my demo. You could have Power Automate in the call, all living in the background. What I'm doing is I'm bringing all of the dialogue to the front and letting Power Automate do what it needs to do while I'm on the call. So I'm going to be bringing in Salesforce as my dialogue, and then I'm going to start adding some power flows to it to start showing you all the different things you can do now that you have some kind of workflow defined behind it. I'm not in full screen mode. So this is the demo. I put these in more for after the if you guys want to download this after the session. This is just kind of covering what I'm going to do. So I'm going to bring the workflow into the call flow. So I'm going to transfer in a call to an agent. They're going to look things up. They're going to be able to do post-call wrap-up, disposition codes, whatever they need to do. And then there might be, like, say, a post-call survey that goes out at the end. One of the other big challenges that the Teams does not have today, and I know like our friends at Landis can solve this, but Teams itself cannot solve it out of the box, is things like call wrap-up, break, things that maybe agents need 3 to 5 minutes to wrap up a call before they're put back in queue. So we can use things like Power Automate to actually set those wrap-up statuses to keep that agent from getting a phone call. So again, I'm on a call, maybe I end the call, and while I'm ending the call, I'm firing something through Power Automate to say, hey, let's keep his status busy so that he doesn't get a call right after he hangs up if it's a busy queue. And then from that, because it's in Power Automate, I can start creating BI, right? Business intelligence around how are my agents performing? What's keeping them busy, or why aren't they busy enough? And then I can tie it to things like Azure OpenAI to start summarizing. In this case, this is an example of one of my agents he spends a lot of time on post-call wrap-up. You might want to go work with him. He's taking too long on a call. This will be available after the session for you guys to review. Obviously, will be available for questions. So I'm going to pivot over, show you a demo, and then I'm going to hand it to Vale to continue the conversation. So let's see. I'm going to do two call flows, and then we'll see where we get. I got to remember which browser I'm in. Let me get Teams up here. So I'm going to be the agent, and I'm going to first call from an unknown number, and then we'll call from a known number so you can see kind of the difference of what that looks like. Google Voice, call. Here comes the call. Let me mute this. So our tabs for calling doesn't open automatically with Microsoft, but you can see where I've got my mouse. There's my dialog box. We would love it if this would just open automatically. But here, what you can see is I'm trying to query. You saw for a second there was something there, and now it's not. I was trying to query Salesforce for, hey, do I know who this customer is? If I do, great. If I don't, then maybe I need to start doing something as an agent. So I'm just going to make something up here. We're going to submit it, and let's say the conversation's over. I'm going to hang up. I've already got an agent workflow going, so let's pop that open. Let's see what I need to do. Oh, I need to do some post-call wrap-up. So I should have pointed out before I got on the call, you'll notice my status is still set to in call. Right? I'm not on a call, but it's in call. That's my Power Automate in the background doing the work to keep my agent from being available to take the next call. So now let's go say, Mark Vale is who called me. His email is, can't type on a flat keyboard, demo.com. Mark is also the name of his company. We already did disposition, but we'll do another disposition. Put some data in. Now watch this agent status when I hit submit. So Power Automate is sitting there waiting for input. It goes out, does the input, and boom, my agent's available again because he's completed his post-call wrap-up. The Power Automate is very flexible. I had that set to say 5 minutes. So if the agent didn't finish in 5 minutes, it would have forced him back available and put him back in the queue. But as soon as I've detected that he's done with his wrap-up, it automatically put him available for the next call. So all of that, never leaving Teams. And if we pop over to here and we go to accounts, we should see Mark's account has showed up. And I've all based on that little bit, I've call logged it, I've created my contact, I've set the disposition for why Mark was calling, and I've started the account creation, right? This is just the tip of the iceberg on what you can start to do, all based on a fairly simple Power Automate workflow. Okay, so now let's bring in, I'm actually gonna call in from my known number, just so you can see the difference of how it branches the flow. Like that. Mute it. So this is a known contact. So instantly I've already dipped my CRM. I can see that it's David Smith. I can see that David Smith, maybe he's calling about his appointment tomorrow. I'm just, again, lifting all of this stuff forward, all while tying the back end in through Power Automate to get a lot of this heavy lifting done. So again, if I decide to set a disposition, like Mark's calling about a callback, I can do that, and Power Automate takes it and dumps it back into the CRM. A couple other examples, and then let me hang up this call. Okay, there's my post-call survey, right? So I ended with a known customer. I'm saying, hey, David, thanks for calling. Just to summarize, you want to follow up, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, here's a survey you can fill out. And then the last thing that I'll show, just really quick, whoops, where's my call at? I guess I did not hang that call up, is that same app can exist inside of your, what I'll call agent desktop, which is Microsoft Teams, but now it's become maybe like an agent desktop where I can also use that same Power Automate to go, hey, let's, maybe for some reason I need more wrap-up time, so let me go automatically set that. And here you can see that the status gets set, so people can actually see what you're doing based on your status. And then I, as an agent, can see when that status expires right there by my mouse. All Power Automate doing this stuff, not the app, but the business process stuff that sits behind the scenes. It's doing so this is the call wrap-up. This is a service account that is doing it on behalf of the user, but the Teams app is what allows that API permission to act on, say, behalf of, right? It's either app delegated or it's user delegated. Yep. So that service account owns not only this Power Automate flow, so this is the one that's doing the call wrap up, and then this is somewhere, one of these is the one that's doing I call the agent breaks, but yeah, this is the one that's doing like the agent disposition, where it has all these conditions around lunch available, whatever. And then, for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to open it because we're running on time. I'm just loading it into a spreadsheet, but it could be a database, could be whatever. But so I'm logging all of this at the same time as the actions are happening. And why is this not clicking out? So this is where, maybe I should use a wrap-up one. This is where I can set the expire timer. Like PT 5 minutes, and then I can get my time for 5 minutes, and then I can go reset the status at the end of 5 minutes if the agent doesn't self-clear. The possibilities of how you go configure all this become very endless. And what we tend to find is as soon as you start the conversation, whether it's internal or external, the ideas start to bubble and ruminate. And next thing you know, you've got workflows that make these look very simple. So now to pile onto it, I'm going to hand it over to Vale, who's done. He's going to handle more of what does it look like with voice AI sitting on the top of it? Taking kind of all this similar stuff, but layering on now the orchestration of what happens with AI. That mouse will work for you.
No worries. No, fine. Give me a second to get set up.
What do you think is the obstacle that more companies are using? Yes, that they just don't know about it. So when you go show it, they go, "Oh my God, this is great."
Yeah. So I'm going to repeat just so they get it on recording. The question is, what do we think the obstacle is for customers maybe not using this? It actually surprises me how little customers are aware of Power Automate. I think people get introduced to it, but it's like, oh, I can take a document from email and I can put it in SharePoint. What's the point of that? I think it's when you start to solve real use cases, that's where all of a sudden they go, oh, we want to use this. But I think it's education more than anything. I think some of it's complexity, but I think it's more about, I don't think a lot of organizations realize how powerful Power Automate really is.
Well, I've got 22 minutes now, haven't I? So. All right, so we're going to take it to the next level. We're going to make call queues great again, finally. And I wanted to start with announcing the retirement of call queues as we know it, because times are changing. And obviously, I'm going to talk about AI and voice and the paradox there. So to coin Kevin Keeler, what he said I think at the keynote, it was, people don't want AI, they want the results of AI. And that's true. It's the same for your customers. But we are in the voice industry, we are on the back foot trying to adopt voice AI because we've trained our customers to hate it. Because all those intelligent bots we've had for years are just on rails. And the customer's job is to navigate that bot as quickly as possible so they can actually get to the queue, so they can actually speak to a human. So how do we change that, really? So we're going to have to change the way that they navigate call queues and auto attendance. And this is typical of a normal customer service inbound call flow that you see there. You have your unhelpful bot that's going to ask you, please say in a few words what you're calling about today, and you say, I want to cancel my service, and they go, I heard I want to upgrade your service. And the fight continues for 7 minutes before you finally scream at it and say, I want to go to an agent. And then you get through all the top level IBRs, you choose your options that you think works best, and you get to someone who maybe can help you. This is designed to piss you off so that you don't actually go through to the queue. And when you get to the queue, it's going to destroy 98% of your soul before you even get to the agent, right? So, and you spend 20 to 45 minutes sitting in a queue, doing nothing, waiting for someone to answer it. And in all that time, remember that your call is important to them. So if it was that important to them, they need to change the way that they answer calls and help customers. So rather than telling them they've got to go through all these gateways before they get to someone, let's just get rid of it all. And we replace it with an AI bot. And if we say to them, hey, thank you for calling, you're in a queue, you're going to be heard by a human, but while you're in a queue waiting for a human, can my AI agent help with whatever you're calling about? And 9 times out of 10, people are more open to that, and they'll say yes because they've got nothing better to do other than to listen to really crappy hold music. So what's going to happen next is it becomes a passive conversation between AI bot and human. You can say, tell me what you're calling about today. I've lost, my meeting calendar app. And then the AI agent can then go away, query knowledge base articles to see if it has the answer to some of the simple questions. And it might be that they get to the very end and the AI bot has answered the question and they don't actually need to formally enter a queue. And the caller walks away happy. And ultimately it makes the queues, the people waiting in the call queues, more of a priority because they've gone through all this and they still need assistance. So I'm going to show you a demo of just a simple conversation between human and a voice agent.
Thank you for calling Teams.
Yeah, can you tell me how to assign a phone number in Teams?
Please wait a moment while I look that up. Scroll down. On the next
Yes, thank you. No, thanks. So to explain what just went on there, I'm sorry it's a little bit geeky with logs, but this is the only way you can really see it. You notice when it answered I spoke, it did a lookup and found my name. That wasn't hard coded, that was in my ITSM system. So it's using my caller ID to go and find my record and then address me by my first name. And then I asked it a question, so that's the silent name lookup there, you can see that. And then I asked it a question about how it could add a Teams phone number. It's gone and searched the local knowledge base article on my ITSM system, which I use Desk 365 in this example. It's found an article based on what I want. It's then read it back to me. I then confirmed that it resolved the issue. It wrote a call log, so it was resolved. It's logged a ticket in Desk 365 in my account, opened it, closed it, and inside that ticket, it will have put the knowledge base article link for me to follow. So if I go to tickets, got nothing in there now, hopefully this will work. So there it is there. And it's got the article. It's done all that without me having to do anything. So what just happened, like I explained, it did the caller identifications, and then it searched local knowledge base, and then it provided me with the answer, and then locked the ticket and closed. Next, going to talk about how AI agents and human agents can work together to enhance your customer service. Yep. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, all it's doing is dipping your system. So if the information is there, you can train it to pull whatever you want and just tune it as you need. All this has been
goes back to the variables that we talked about earlier. Keep it dynamic.
So going into the next one, IVRs, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but sometimes when you go to, I mean, I had an experience where I lost British Airways didn't deliver my bag, and trying to get through to speak to someone is a nightmare because you don't know which option to press. So with agents, they're contextually aware. They're able to take natural language and understand what department or person you potentially need to speak to, or what type of knowledge or information you're going to be after. So you don't need to create a voice agent for every single department. You could have one frontline agent that has different pathways trained, so that if I'm talking about a sales call, well, I'm calling about a sales call, I can go down the sales path, and it can then sell me, it can quote me, it can do all the other sexy sales stuff thing, and then get through to a sales agent if I need to. It can do accounting, it can do support. You just need to tell it what to do, and you obviously need to build that in your agent as well. So all it's going to do at that point, when it understands what the type of call it's going to be, it's going to go into the appropriate flow. And then the other thing is, as they're going through the queue and waiting for that human agent, and they're starting to explore what the voice AI agent can do, you can start to prompt them, saying, give them sort of pointed questions. And these are no new questions. You get these on agents on Rails as well. But you can say, is it a problem with existing or a new problem? But before we start to disclose anything to do remotely with PII, we need to make sure that the person calling is the person that should be calling. Otherwise, you're going to open up your world of data to people that can just call your number and say, I want an update on ticket number 2000, and it will give it without a guardrail. So you want to make sure that you build your guardrails in to make sure that you are speaking to the right person. And then once you pass that gate, if that person asks for an update on a ticket number and they get it wrong, and it's not, that ticket number isn't for them, you need to build that guardrail in to say, hang on a minute, I know it's you, I know it's Ben, but Ben doesn't own ticket 12, so therefore I'm not going to give him an update or any information on ticket 12. I'm going to read back his tickets that he's also authorized to update or get status from. So we can do that with mobile PIN authentication. And actually, I'll go through this and do one big demo at the end, considering the time that we've got left. So a caller's going to come in. It's going to go off, identify that person from the CRM. It's going to get their mobile. It's going to send an SMS out with a one-time passcode. Sally's going to read it back to the AI bot. The AI bot's going to then confirm it. And once they pass that gate, they can then go into update case, log case, close case, whatever other intimate workflows that you've got configured. So once you've gone past that, so if Sally doesn't know what their ticket is, the bot can then go and query the ITSM system and go get all open tickets from Sally, and then read it out to her and say, is it ticket 12, ticket 10, ticket 6 that you're talking about? If Sally provides context to say, I'm calling about a certain topic, it can then do a best match based on the open tickets that Sally has open, and then prompt Sally to say, I think it's this ticket that you want to speak to. Is that right? She can go, yes. Do you want to provide an update? Yes. And Sally will provide an update. That's an opportunity then for the AI agent. Maybe the AI agent didn't help Sally the first time when she reported this, but now she's gone away and tried something, come back and provide more context to that support ticket. There's an opportunity then for the AI agent to then go and say, use that information and try and find a better answer before actually transferring. So it's all about trying to resolve problems before actually getting to speak to a human person. But inevitably, some calls will go through to humans. Now, when we transfer from AI to human agent, there's a whole world of information that bot has just collected about that person that would be useful to the human agent. Because what you don't want to do is put the customer through all that and for Matt to answer the phone and go, who am I speaking with? What's your problem? Because you've just gone back to square one. It would be useful if Matt knew what my temperature was, or through the conversation. So am I happy? Am I frustrated? Am I angry? Am I neutral? It would be helpful to know the conversation that I've had between the AI bot and myself before going through, and any ticket numbers that I'm calling about. So what you can do before it, in the transfer process, is the AI agent can update the ticket that they're talking about so that when the human agent answers, the update is already there. You can go and get, find the department the customer needs to speak to, find agents of that department, find a free agent, update the call context, which Brandon's team's tabs for calling app, and then do an agent lookup based on Teams presence to find an available agent, and then connect me to Sally. So, like I said, I spoke a little bit about the agent handover. This is what the type of information that you can hand over to the agent. I'll give you a demo of this. I'm going to have to play caller and agent in this. Just give me a second. I will warn you that I found a bug in our SBCs that reroutes it to a medical center every once in a while. So I'm hoping its demo got through on my side. Only found it 5 minutes before the session. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, can I have an update on ticket number 6? Three 397779. It's approved now.
You have a case number?
Yeah, number 6. No, just transfer me to an agent. So you can see I've got the sentiment already in the brackets there, so I've got early warning. Put myself on mute now. But it thinks I was frustrated at the point of transfer. But this is the information you can get. You can get the call summary, what I was talking about, my call history up to that point, transcript that I've had between the AI agent and myself up to the point of transfer. And now I can talk to the customer, solve the problem, and then the agent can end the call and leave. Yes. Told you. Anyway, it's working perfect at home. Come to the demo, and but this is like where you have to go and make sure that you test it. To get to the point where I've got today is 300 builds. Trying in 3 weeks worth of work to get it to sort of 98% working. But the point I was going to show you then was that once the agent's left, you can go and do post-call wrap-up, do your post-call surveys there and then. And you have a unique opportunity at that point. If a customer has had their problem resolved, they're happy, then you have all that information from the reason why they called, what's been resolved, and then you can then turn that support call into a potential outbound sales lead. Because if you can train it to identify problems with your products, you could say, actually, you called about Teams phone number. I've got this provisioning solution that you might be interested in. Do you want me to book an outbound sales call with one of our agents in the future? And you can build the world from that point, but put your meeting bookings in and stuff like that. So you can turn an opportunity that's of support into additional revenue potentially as well. And you also get different statistics. Obviously, that's all logging. Every call's getting logged. It's monitoring. You can put that information into a dashboard so that you have visibility of how many calls have come in, how many have been solved by AI agents, how many have been transferred, etc., what the average temperature is for every call. You can even score your agents as well, so you can give them points for a happy sentiment, but you can give them negative points for an angry resolution. Build it over the day, and even get the feedback. That they're leaving as well. And I'm not trying to pitch you a product. This product doesn't exist. This is just something I built for this demo. And the other point I'm trying to make is that even though in this demo there's been no queues, it doesn't necessarily mean that this agent can't live in front of a queue. So ultimately, in a high volume call, even if that bot solves 80% of the calls before it requires a human person, you're still going to need some form of queuing. But in relatively low volume calls, you could eliminate queues altogether and just get the voice bot to do the hunting of agents. Lastly, it's like, well, actually, what happens if my bot isn't trained to answer a question that the caller has asked? So then you can give it permission to go out to verified knowledge sources like learn.microsoft.com, for instance, and try and resolve questions it doesn't know the answer to yet. So call up, it doesn't have any records in the local knowledge base. It's like, what do I do now? They have a backup. I can go to Microsoft Docs. I've got 10 possible resolutions, and you can go through that process of like, yes, it's been resolved. Now, this can be the audience participation. Anybody want to give me a topic to put this to the test? Anyone? Green pop. Yeah, how do you configure screen pop in Teams? So you can see that it's not found anything, so it's falling back to Microsoft. It's caught my voice and it's trying to do stuff. Oh well. Hey? It's just logging tickets now, just for the sake of it, because I'm talking. Oh well, the joys of live demos. But hopefully you get the idea of what's possible. And I'm not trying to say that this is going to be quick and easy for anyone to deploy. It will be a passion project. But you've got two options. You can either go to the professionals, or you can build your own like me and see how far you get. But you have the ability to put a voice agent in front of any phone number on any platform. What I've shown you today, the only bit that was Microsoft. Yeah, I know. The only bit that was Microsoft was the actual agent answering the call. Questions? No, I did have a slide, but I'm out of time now on this. The platform's called LiveKit. That's kind of the bill of materials.
But behind it, I know we're getting kicked out. Is the idea is there's all of this tooling that's sitting here, but what orchestrates it, right? Is it the Power Platform? Is it Power Automate? Is it N8N? You can have all of these tools, but you still need a way to orchestrate the data flows from one system to the other. So what our intent was to kind of show you the art of possible, right? We're not saying, like Mark said, we're not saying we have a product to sell. We're just showing like, hey, this is where we believe the industry is moving. And more than anything, it's about automated workflows where you bring efficiency forward.
Yeah, whatever that means.
So I guess thanks for coming.
Thank you.